Why don't people change windshield gaskets anymore? A lot of Mercedes that we work on have these great windshields that more or less rope in, and so I'd love to pick one up. There's one right here, for example, from a W111, an old W111, which we could set down now. Just set it down gently. Okay. And so these windshields, unlike the windshields on modern cars, don't really glue in. They're roped in with a lock ring and a windshield seal. And a lot of the time when we get cars with these types of windshields in, the windshield rubber gaskets are bad. They're cracking, they're hard, they let water in. And so we're going to talk about why these gaskets should be replaced periodically and what you need to watch out for when you're changing one. Part of the problem with these windshield gaskets is because they fit into a metal channel. The metal channel can trap water because the water can't drain out. And once it's in there, unless the car is parked in the sun pretty regularly, it can't just evaporate out of the channel. Every Mercedes that has a rope-in windshield is susceptible to windshield frame rust. And one of the reasons that we often don't find out about windshield rust until it's out of control is because windshield rust has a tendency to rot the base at the bottom of the channel, so it'll rot a hole in the base of the channel and create a little tiny pinhole, and then it'll spread outwards from there. And the part where it spreads outwards is sort of a, I would say it's sort of an indication of how well kept the car has been. Like if you garage your car every night for the entirety of its life, this isn't going to happen. But if you see a car that is currently garaged, but it's got some rust creeping out of a windshield gasket, then you know that the car really hasn't been well taken care of. And so when you change or plan on changing a windshield gasket on one of these cars, you need to make sure that there's no rust around the gasket. Doesn't mean there isn't going to be any, but you need to plan for it. So I say if you have an older Mercedes, whether it's the back glass in a 126 or the front glass in a 123 or a 108 or 109, you need to plan on the possibility of rust being in the windshield channel. That means you have to have a plan about what you're going to do when you take the windshield out and there's rust inside. Now, a lot of my customers get annoyed with me because they go, what's this $1,000 sublet or fee on my invoice for having Austin come up and weld a piece back into my windshield channel? I'm like, well, in case it has rust, we need to have a plan, because you're not just putting a windshield sealant at that point. At that point, you're cutting a little tiny piece of metal and welding it in, and there may even be paint work involved. It is not easy to just take it out and assume everything's fine. So what do you have to do in a windshield when you put it back together to make sure that this doesn't occur again? Well, the first trick is to use bedding compound. Bedding compound is a very sticky, very tacky, very rubbery compound that fills gaps extremely well, never completely dries, and is extremely waterproof. So what it does is it takes up the space in between the windshield seal and the windshield channel, and it takes up the air gaps so that water can't just get in there. Now I must admit, bedding compound is extremely sticky and hard to clean up, but you have to use it, because if you don't use it, then bad things are going to happen. Now, does bedding compound ever dry? Yeah, after about 40 years, it turns into cement, which is why so many Mercedes, when you pull the original windshield gasket out, there is dry, hard, concrete-like bedding compound in the seal channel. All this stuff has to be chipped out. And yes, that's very time-consuming. You can't just remove it in an hour or so. You have to get it all out and get the seal channel perfectly clean so that the windshield and the seal seat 100%. Now, what are some other nuances? Well, if you're dealing with a windshield that has a lock ring, in other words, an embedded aluminum or stainless steel retaining ring that goes through the middle of the of the windshield gasket to hold it in place. This lock ring must be installed when the windshield is on your workbench with the gasket being fitted. I also tell people this: when you're putting the windshield seal on the windshield, when you're putting it around on the windshield and then putting the lock ring in, try not to use soap. Try to do it the hard way. Soap is when you're putting it in the car, not when you're fitting the glass onto the seal. Putting the glass on the seal is very, very, very tricky. You almost need something like a giant rubber band to hold it in place. It's extremely tricky. There's no easy way to do it. It doesn't require a lot of ingenuity, but it does require some hard work. And so when you're taking the car to a glass shop to get the seal done, you need to verify that they're going to put the lock ring in beforehand, so they're not trying to pry it in and bend it and squeeze it in once the glass is installed in the car, which is, you know, impossible. You can't put a lock ring in 100% once the glass is in. You may be able to get a small section of it back in if it pops out, but not a whole entire lock ring. There are some people that on here that are probably like, no, you're wrong, I've been able to do it before. You know, I'm sure there'll be one or two older glass guys in the comments. Well, the majority of us aren't as gifted as you, sorry. So I just have to emphasize how these steps must be followed. So let's go over the steps of changing a rubber windshield gasket. Step 1, you cut away the old gasket. You don't try to pop the windshield out. You cut away. You cut away until you can easily lift the windshield up. Number 2, if you have rear window defroster cables, you need to disconnect those. Don't leave them for the last minute when you're holding the glass in your hands. You're like, oh, there's a cable attached. You know, don't plan on cutting those cables either. They all have connectors. They're all connected. Some of them have wiring junction blocks like a 108. Some of them have single pin connectors like a 116 or a 107 SLC. But there's a method to this. Number 3, inspect the seal. Number 2, once you get it all out and get the old windshield out, inspect the channel for rust and figure out if there's any rust that needs to be repaired. Number 4, remove all the, number 3, remove all the old bedding compound. So chip it out, clean it out. You need to be able to see metal with paint on it, not gray hard bedding compound. Number 4, I'm sorry, I'm like one step ahead. Number 4, put your seal on the glass and put your lock ring into the seal on the bench. Number 5, put new bedding compound in the seal channel. Number 6, you can then rope the glass in. If you're curious about how windshield glass needs to be roped in, there are a plethora of YouTube channels that cover this topic. So I don't need to cover it here, okay? There are so many ways to rope glass in, but you just need to be firm about it. You can't say, oh, I'm going to do it, rope it around once and tug on it. If it doesn't go, I'm going to give up. You have to be firm with it. You're wrestling with it. And then, you know, number 6, once the glass is, no wait, was that 6 or I don't remember. Number 6, once the glass is roped in, then you can install all the peripheral trim and everything should be good to go. Now, I want to emphasize 2 more things. Whenever possible, use a genuine Mercedes windshield seal. Are they perfect? No. Most of the time, they're pretty close. Number 2, if you're going to skip the bedding compound, you don't want to put bedding compound in, you better make sure your car's sitting overnight in a garage, and you better make sure that you let it sit out in the sun and dry out if there's rain and water gets into that seal channel. I hope you guys found this video informative. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and all of our subscribers. Let's push that number over 50,600. And for the 50,600 of you that have subscribed, I'm very grateful. Thank you so much to all of you for watching these videos, even though I know sometimes they're not that interesting. But remember, sometimes I make the less interesting videos for the handful of people that need guidance in a specific area. Thank you guys.